In my capstone project, I will discuss Japan's cultural beliefs and backgrounds regarding the body. Specifically, I will discuss the differences in bodily freedoms and norms between genders in Japan and uncover certain injustices in Japanese society. Through my research, I have focused on research questions such as how has Japanese history and culture shaped the way people view their bodies today? How are bodies and different genders viewed and expressed in Japan? How do gender roles and norms relate to bodily freedom in Japan? How do Japanese people feel about gender and social norms, and how do they feel free in their bodies? First, I will talk about some of the history of Japan regarding freedom of expression and the body. After that, I will talk about how different bodies are viewed under the umbrella of gender in Japan and how norms have been created. Then I will uncover injustices that have been created because of these norms. The foundation of Japanese thinking regarding the body is partly rooted in religions such as Buddhism and Shintoism. Shintoism was the first religion that had a belief that a person's body and mind and their external reality are all connected. Buddhism became popular after Shintoism and taught that a person's spirit, mind, and body are one and can be reincarnated in an endless circle of life. To follow up with that, according to Nikeo and Ohara, 73% of people in Japan do not believe in religion. This doesn't mean that most of Japan isn't religious, it just means that popular ideas such as mind and body unity have been integrated into Japanese society through religions such as Buddhism and Shintoism. In Japanese society today, according to the law, citizens of Japan have full agency and freedom of expression under the Constitution, which was put in place in 1947. Similar to America, Japan has certain freedoms related to one's body that are protected, such as freedom of press, speech, and expression. Although Japan is labeled a democracy and a free country, according to a study conducted by Pew Research Center in 2018, about 6 in 10 citizens think freedom of speech is protected, and more than half of the citizens believe that the Japanese court system treats everyone fairly, and roughly half say people do not have a good chance at improving their standard of living. Through my research on gender differences in bodily freedom and expression, I have found that Japan has a gender gap in economic and social aspects of society. The article by Yamaguchi shows that according to the World Economic Forum's 2018 Gender Gap Index, Japan is ranked 110 out of 149 countries. In the next part of the presentation, I will talk about this gender gap in terms of economic and social status. A big factor causing the gender gap of pay is regular and non-regular employment status. In Japan, regular employees are employed indefinitely and protected from being laid off. Non-regular employees have fixed contracts and are at a higher risk of being fired. Over 53% of women have non-regular status compared to just 14% of men. In the book by Kazuo Yamaguchi, Gender, which examines gender inequality in the workplace, it is shown that traditional gender roles limit women in the workforce and also limit women having positions of management and power in major companies. According to the article, women who have entered the workforce between 1995 and 1999 only have a 20% of, of high positions in their respective companies. In another article relating to the gender gap in the workforce, Ramakrishnan and colleagues explain that out of the OECD member countries, Japan has the lowest proportion of female physicians at 18%. This article then goes to explain that female physicians tend to leave the profession altogether during, after childbirth for several years, primarily due to childcare responsibilities. In another study regarding Japanese female physicians, 246 physicians were surveyed and reported gender discrimination regarding career choice, discrimination and sexual harassment in the workplace, high levels of stress concerning family responsibility, and lack of support regarding pregnancy and childcare in the workforce. Along with an economic gap between genders, there are also many social norms that have caused differences between genders in Japan. For the next few slides, I will talk about how women see themselves in society and how gender roles are viewed and enforced. Japan has developed many gender roles in the creation of one of the leading non-Western societies in terms of economic success. This success brought long-lasting effects on what women, especially mothers, need to look like. This Japanese phrase says bear children and multiply, which was popular during the imperial era in Japan. In a qualitative study by Bellarmino and Roberts that consisted of 10 young adult women from Japan aged 18 to 22, each participant was interviewed and asked questions about their feelings on gender expectations and expectations regarding their role in society. 7 of the 10 women involved in the study believed that being a Japanese woman involved meeting certain expectations such as traditional gender tasks, including marriage and child rearing. 4 of the participants felt that women were expected to be wives, and 4 of the participants felt that women were expected to be mothers. In our current society, gender roles are also enforced through online presences such as social media. In a study regarding young Japanese females, 10 young adult women aged 18 to 22 reported consistently being pressured by social media to engage in unhealthy eating habits and to obtain an ideal body structure and body norm. These studies show that bodies of women in Japan are expected to look, act, and perform a certain way. These gender norms that have consisted in Japan for many years have caused Japan to be ranked as one of the lowest countries in terms of gender equality. This has caused a major gender gap and inequality in terms of economic success and social status for women. So where do we go from here? In June 2022, under the Kishida administration, there was a grand design for new capitalism and action plan, which suggests that the major focus should be on investing in the people. The respect for diversity and flexibility of choice policy calls for the creation of an environment where people can work regardless of gender and obtain flexible work environments. In conclusion, I have discovered a lot about the culture of Japan and how bodies are expressed and viewed. Through my research, I have found that females in Japan have been struggling to outgrow certain norms and expectations that have been placed on them, which has caused a major gender gap. This has ultimately caused female bodies to be less free in their society.